All right, welcome to your virtual tour of the New Prague wastewater treatment plant. You do need to do the Google form to answer the questions about this. You can refer back to the video. I will try to go quickly, but I do think as an environmental student that you should know what happens to everything that goes down your drains. So the New Prague wastewater treatment plant, and all of them actually, are only going to treat water that comes from people's homes or businesses within the city limits, so it's coming from those pipes. Sewage water, or sewer water, sorry, so stuff that goes down the street and down into those pipes, all those pipes from street runoff end up in lakes or rivers or streams. So we are only taking water from people's homes that live in the city of New Prague. If you live out in the country and you have a septic mound, you are not part of this wastewater treatment plant, and your tax dollars don't go to pay for it either because you have to pay for your own septic mound. So we're going to treat all the water that comes through your pipes or businesses. And step one, so you can kind of see under here, there's a channel. So water is running down this channel, and as it runs down the channel, this conveyor belt is moving, and there's little fingers on here to pick up all of the big paper products or big garbage. So anything that you dump down your drain or your sink, or that maybe a business dumps down that's big, is going to get raked out. We don't really know what any of that big stuff is, and we don't really want to deal with it. So it actually goes to a landfill. So it comes out this pipe, the local disposal company will pick it up, it gets bagged up because we don't know what it is, and goes to that landfill. All right, so there's a picture of some of that landfill debris. The next step is collecting the next size chunky stuff. So step one, got rid of the big chunks. Step two is going to get rid of the medium sized chunks. And then step three will be to get rid of the tiny, tiny chunks. So anyway, we need to coagulate or stick together the biological macromolecules that are in all this water. So again, use your imagination. What is going down your toilet or maybe your kitchen sink? Even your food disposal, you grind up that food in the disposal, but it still goes down your sink and it ends up here. And it's pretty small, all that stuff that gets flushed or washed down. So we need to stick it together so that it can be basically raked off. So there's a big tank here, it's about 20 feet deep. They dump in chemicals. Sometimes these chemicals change depending on the type of water that's coming in. They do test what comes in every once in a while, and they change this chemical formula that goes into this tank. But the chemicals that go in here are called ferric chlorides, and they coagulate this organic material until it gets chunky. So here's some chunks that are floating. Other chunks are going to sink to the bottom, and when it goes down this little stream, the floaty chunks get raked off. The chunks on the bottom will go through a filter down there, and the water that comes out the end is pretty clean. There's some chunks if you want to get a bit closer look at what's getting picked up. Nasty. Anyway, the water that comes out the end is pretty clean. Still a little bit cloudy because there are still smaller organic compounds or pathogens in there. But all of the big stuff is gone by the end of this step. So we raked out the really big things, we coagulate the next size of molecule and junk, and we rake all that stuff out. Everything that got raked out here, I'm going to talk about again at the end. This doesn't go to a landfill. So be asking yourself, what happened to all that nasty stuff that they took out of the water? So the next step here, this pretty clean water goes into this holding tank, and each of these are big pipes that are going to go down and then pump up into a swimming pool that's over here. So on this side, there are 4 big swimming pools of water. The water that's still dirty here goes down this pipe into whichever pool they want to fill. When it goes down that pipe, it passes through a tube that's full of these styrofoam beads. Bacteria like to stick to these styrofoam beads. They're similar to what you would put inside your beanbag. So there's a lot of bacteria living on these beads right now. And when the water passes up and through those beads, it goes into these swimming pools. So there are no styrofoam beads in this pool. The water passed through a pipe holding those beads. There's a screen at the top that doesn't let the beads in, but all the bacteria on those beads is going to jump into the water because this water is full of bacteria food. So the bacteria jumped off those little beads, jumped into this water, and starts gobbling up all the other tiny or organic debris that you flush down your toilet or your sink. In order to help this bacteria eat up all those bad guys or all those compounds, they actually aerate these tanks. That's why it's so full of bubbles. So they pump oxygen into this tank. So they are giving the bacteria lots of food that you flushed, lots of oxygen, and it's nice and warm in this room. So it's a perfect environment for this bacteria to just get nice and chubby, and it goes to town and it gobbles up anything else that was really tiny that didn't get raked out before. Then we need to get rid of this bacteria, so what do? They cut off the oxygen supply. So here you can see the water level is going down. There are still bubbles there, that's just leftover foam, but they stop giving the bacteria oxygen, and the bacteria panics. It doesn't have any air to breathe, but it wants to live. So any bacteria in here, it ate all the food, and now it starts eating each other. So bigger bacteria will eat tinier bacteria. They end up clumping into colonies, so we can't see them, but there are big colonies of bacteria in here, and all that bacteria ate up anything else that you flushed. So you can see the water level going down. It goes down another pipe, and when it goes down this pipe at the bottom of this pool, it gets filtered, the water gets backwashed, and again, what happens to all that bacteria and organic matter? We're going to find out in a minute. But the water that comes out of here is really pretty clean, but it gets filtered again. So the water is going to go through these tubes. As it goes through these tubes here, which I'll show you, are full of teeny, teeny, tiny glass capillary tubes is what they're called. They're 0.01 microns in diameter. So the water goes through here, and then anything that is too big to fit into these tubes ends up out here and again gets filtered again. So inside these tubes that the water is passing through, this would be a new one of these filter systems. So I'll show you a cross section. There's 1,000 glass tubes inside here that are running up and down. The water goes through here. They're really, really small. So water molecules can obviously fit inside these tubes, but the bacteria that didn't get filtered before won't. So the bacteria will collect in all these empty spaces. And if you look at this tube, there are holes on the side. All that dirty water comes out here, and again, we can collect that, okay? So the only stuff that makes it through this tube are water molecules, or again, bacteria that's just super, super tiny. And we're going to clean it one more time. So by the time the water gets through here, it's going to come out the other side. And the last step, and I didn't show you, and I apologize, I should have taken a picture. So right here, there would be a channel of water running right through here. In that channel of water, they have lights like this hanging above it. These are UV lights that shine on that water. So any teeny tiny bacteria or pathogens that are still in the water will get killed by these really strong UV lights. There's also mercury in here to help activate that. That's what those little black dots are. So the mercury and the UV lights are going to kill any bacteria that's left. If it doesn't kill the bacteria, the light will make it infertile, so it can't reproduce. And bacteria only lives for about 24 hours. So by the time the water leaves the water treatment plant, this is what it looks like. It is super clean. It is basically drinking water quality, but nobody's going to drink it. This water goes down a pipe. It gets dumped into that stream right by our living lab, and then nature can use it and it can keep cleaning it for us. So some of this water will eventually go down through the earth, end up in an aquifer, and then get pulled right back up into our wells and could end up back in your house. But we have a really good water treatment plant that keeps it clean. So all that stuff we filtered off from steps 2, 3, and 4, so not the first raking level, but all the other levels where we're filtering out sludge is what it's called, goes to these ovens. So these are really, really hot ovens. If we look inside an oven, so here's some of that sludge. It squirts out. It looks like poop because that's basically what it is. Still has a lot of water in it, so it's very heavy, so they dry it in these ovens. Here's the dried product. The reason they dry it is simply to make it lighter, and then they bag it up, and it can actually go to a farmer's field. So our wastewater plant has a relationship with one of our local farmers. This farmer drives his truck over. The people at the plant will dump this bag into this guy's open semi, basically, and he will take it to his field. The people at the plant are testing this water, so they know exactly, they test this product at the end. They tell the farmer which chemicals he has to add to his field. The farmer is talking to environmental people to make sure he applies it in the right concentrations. Also, these fields, because this is human waste, it gets treated differently than cow manure. This farmer will get special clearance from our EPA of which fields he can put it on and in what concentration. But it's perfectly safe. So really, some of your human waste is going to fertilize a farmer's crop. It is not my husband, I will tell you that. But it's perfectly safe. Good stuff in here. So it's free fertilizer for the farmer. He doesn't have to pay for it because he's doing a favor to our water treatment plant and getting this out of their hands. These bags, if you stood next to it, it's probably about 8 feet tall, maybe 4 or 5 feet wide, and this is enough for about 1 acre of farmland. So it takes a couple months to make about 100 bags of this. I think that's what the guy told me. But anyway, free fertilizer for the farmer, and the wastewater plant gets rid of all of their organic waste for free also. So a nice little symbiotic relationship there. This is the lab where they will pre-test the water coming into the plant. We used to have a creamery in town. Creameries dump a lot of milk into the drains. Milk is full of phosphates. So when the creamery was in town, they had to change back in step 2 where they're adding those ferric chlorides. They had to change that chemical. The brewery in town is also dumping yeasty products into the water. So they had to make some chemical adjustments to accommodate when the brewery moved into town. So they do a lot of chemical tests there to make sure it's all safe. It's a crappy job, but it is a good job. You are working for the state or the city. When you work for the government, you don't necessarily get paid a ton. I mean, $80,000 is a lot of money. You could live very nicely off of that. But the extra bonus from working for the state, like being a teacher, is we usually get really good benefits. There's good retirement plans, very generous sick and vacation days. So while your salary, I mean, you're not going to be a 6-figure salary, but these benefits pay off in the long run, sometimes more than a high salary. It's also great job security. There are only 12 people that can do this. So during COVID, when lots of people were losing their jobs, the people that worked at our wastewater treatment plant had very safe job security there. So if you're interested, you can talk to me. I can give you this guy's name, but it is a good career. That's it. Sorry this was so long. Answer the Google form, and I'll see you guys on Monday.